Reb Noson, he brings down regarding Avram Avinu, where it says, after he had the circumcision in Parshat Vayera, it says, V'hu Yoshev Petach HaOhel Kechom Hayom. And Avram Avinu was sitting at the entrance of the tent in the heat of the day. So there it's understood, Rashi explains that he was sitting outside waiting for guests to come. He was so anxious that guests should come, and Hashem didn't want to trouble him with guests, so he made the heat of the sun so strong that there should be no people traveling on that day, so that as not to trouble Avram Avinu. And when Hashem saw that Avram Avinu was still determined to have guests, to invite guests, so Hashem sent him the three angels. Reb Noson takes this to a different dimension. Watch this. He says that Avram Avinu signifies every Jew who wants to enter the gates of holiness. So, and the gates of holiness are closed. So the verse says again, V'hu Yoshev Petach HaOhel. And he, Avraham, the Jew, who's yearning and wanting to come in, is waiting. The word Yoshev is sitting and waiting. Akava, Rashi brings down many times that yeshiva, sitting, denotes being delayed and waiting. He's waiting at the entrance of the gate. Petach HaOhel, the entrance of the tent of holiness, in other words, to enter the gates, the doors of this tent. He's just waiting there for them to open the doors. And in the meantime, Kechom Hayom, he's being heated up by the temptations of the evil side. In other words, Kechom Hayom, the heat of the day, connotes being heated to temptation and falling. And the test is that the heat of the Taivis, the Yetzirah, uses all the desires and temptations to subconsciously tell the person, you're wasting your time, just get out of here, you're not getting anywhere, they're not opening the door for you, and anyways you're just falling lower and lower and lower, so you might as well just drop it and leave this gate. And Avram signifies the determined Jew who says, no, I'm waiting here. I'm waiting for them to open the gates. I'm not budging. You guys can heat me up and tempt me and do what you guys are doing to me, but my place is here. Anywhere, there's nowhere else to run to in the world. There's only Hashem, and there's no other option. There's only this. This is the only existence to wait for them to open the gates of salvation, the gates of holiness. And this is the idea, Reb Noson says, Rabbi Nachman stresses it a lot, of having patience. Having patience and waiting until they open the doors. Most people, their downfall is because mainly a lack of patience. Like Rabbi Nachman's famous story, we'll say just very quickly, of the bitter herb, that there was a Jew and a German who were invited for the night of Pesach as guests. The Jew trained the German, who spoke German, which is close to Yiddish, to act like a Jew on the night of Pesach, right? He taught him how the ceremony starts with Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpatz, Yachatz, right? Magid, Rochza, Motzi, Matzah. He got through all the stages of what happens and starting to eat the Motzi, the Matzah. But he forgot, he skipped the maror, because he told the German beggar that tonight we eat such a delicious meal. They're going to be serving tons of meat and chicken and simis and kugels, potato kugels, apple kugels, everything. It's just delicious and everything. And he got the German so tempting to have a normal meal at least once a year, to have a nice full meal. So he skipped out of the haste of the Jew telling over all of these points. He skipped over the point of the bitter herb. And when finally he came to the bitter herb, and he didn't know about it, because the Jew didn't tell him about the stage of the maror, he didn't tell the German about the maror, so he took a big serving of the bitter herb, because he saw how they brought it on a nice silver platter, and how they were cutting it into pieces, and each person was getting a piece, so he took a few pieces, and then it burnt, because it's the horseradish, the bitter herb. It burnt in his mouth, and he took off. He started to curse, you Jews, all this ceremony for nothing, for this burning food, and he was so bothered. And then afterwards, when the Jew met the German, and he told him about his displeasure and his disappointment, he said, you're so foolish. If you would have just waited a little, right after maror, they do korech, they have the sandwich of the maror again and charoset, and then was the meal. You missed the meal that I spoke about. Patience. And this is something so serious, that you need patience in every area of life, even in learning Torah, for example. Sometimes a person's learning, learning a specific lesson and everything, and he just gets out of it and begins to have doubts. Maybe I should learn something else. Maybe this is not for me. I'm just out of it. So there's two ways to interpret it. Or I have to move on to something else, or I can go deeper in what I'm learning. In other words, I'm not maximizing it. That's why it's getting dull and boring, and it's a sign from heaven that I have to go in deeper. But patience again is required in order to make the right decision in learning and in everything in life. It's to have this special characteristic of patience. Now we all admit that it's difficult. Fine. Because of that, and again, we have in Judaism something amazing. We have a crutch to rely upon. Hashem sent us a helping hand. These are the tzaddikim. Tzaddikim are those who did make it already. They did pass all the tests and trials that we are going through, that we went through. They went through everything. And they're always there to give us a helping hand and to encourage us for what we're going through, to hold on. We can rely on them always to give us encouragement and a boost. That's again, like we spoke about in the past, the need and the necessity for tzaddikim. Just Torah study alone is not enough, because Torah study can become dry, very boring, God forbid, unenthusiastic. You need the boost of the tzaddikim to enhance Torah study and also enhance life, to give us that boost and that direction to hold on and to wait, like Avram Avinu waiting at the gates of heaven until they open the doors. There's a saying in Breslov, there's a saying in the world, salvation comes to those who wait for it. When waiting for salvation, you have to wait there and then and not leave. Because if you leave, when they finally do open the doors and you're not there, you lost out. So the main thing is to be there when the salvation comes. That's why it's so important to hold on through thick and thin, through the dull moments, the boring moments, to hang in, not to only be there when it's a high and a very inspirational time. Be there every time, so you'll catch all the inspirational times, as opposed to the guy who said, well, I didn't hear about it, I didn't know, because he wasn't there. You being there through thick and thin, you have a big vantage point of always reaping the benefits when in heaven they open the doors. We should be zocheh to have that happen, to always be there for the opening of the doors.